All righty, welcome to another edition of the Wrestling Retrospective Podcast. I'm your host, Earnest EJ Christian. We're back here after a few weeks away. Of course, we got the two guys, Rob Bonnette, DJ Minter, 2/3 of the mindless wrestling podcast with us for yet another glorious watch along. Fellas, how you guys doing?
Good.
I'm all right. I've had three Mondays this work week, and I have a feeling tomorrow's going to be a fourth one. So
That does not sound good, brother.
no, it's not been a good time.
Right. All right. So before we get started, we've been doing this since the end of the summer. We've been recapping or watching along all the Saturday Night Main Event episodes from 1988. We started it in January. We went to the main event in February where Hogan lost his title for 4 years to Andre. Then of course he gets to DiBiase. The title's vacant. We watched the main event in March '88, leading into WrestleMania 4. And then we start a new era here in April of '88, April 30th of '88, where Macho Man Randy Savage is the new world champion into the show. So it's a new era. After 4 years, we have a brand new champion. So quickly, if we get started, a couple of stats here. This show actually took place April 22nd, 1988, 8 days before airing on TV on April 30th, 1988. This was in Springfield, Massachusetts, at the Springfield Civic Center. Attendance 9,000 seated. April '88. Interesting. This show aired the day for my birthday, my 8th birthday.
Yeah.
Fellas, what are you guys doing '88? April '88. You guys know?
I was somewhere in one of my high school years. I think it was year two. I think I was in 10th grade.
88, 19, let me see. I was 14.
Yeah, I was 15.
So I was in 8th grade, I believe. Yeah, because
I graduated in 91. When did you graduate?
92.
All right,
I'm 98. So
Kid.
good lord.
Yeah.
So we before we also get started, we're gonna have this show also. As I bring this up here, I'm sorry about that. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 matches here.
Wow.
We have Jim Duggan against Hercules. So a lot of these are squashes though. Brutus Beefcase against Danny Davis with Jim Hart in his corner. Of course, the world title line. Randy Savage against One Man Gang. This will be the last time I see One Man Gang before he turns to Hakeem. We have the new tag champions Demolition with Mr. Fuji against the British Bulldogs. And then we got Ted DiBiase with Virgil's corner against Don Morocco with Billy Graham. And then finally, we got Ravishing Rick Rude with Bobby Heenan's corner versus Coco Beware at the end of the show. So, again, guys, for the watch along, want to join us. It was actually season 4 of episode 4 of the Saturday Night's Main Event pool here on Peacock. We need to pause real quick to find a way through. Do so. Otherwise, we're ready to go. We can get this party started for next hour as we discuss the show. We discuss whatever you want to. Let's watch along. So, guys, ready to go?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, let's do it.
Go in 5, in 4, in 3, and 2, and go. Ho! So Hacksaw Jim Duggan in this era, 88 through 91, after Hogan, after Babyface Savage, probably top 4 most over character at the company.
Yeah, because they coming out of WrestleMania, like this was like the most structured kind of things had been, because they had, of course, Hogan and Savage, but then they had Duggan here was getting started, going good, and then they had Brutus, they had Jake,
Baby faces.
Yeah, and then then of course Warrior was starting to move up.
Yeah, Warrior starting getting steam.
So they had like about 5 or 6 babyface, because this is when they started really doing like this, the split tours, like the house shows. This is when they really
A team, B team.
Yeah, this is when they really started doing that, because they had.
I think for a while they had Hacksaw main eventing some of those.
Yeah,
not in like big venues, obviously not 10, 11 seat, 1,000 seat places, but they had Hacksaw as the main event on some of those shows.
Yeah, him and Andre, and then so they just so they had like a bunch of, because Rude and Jake were getting started here, and of course Savage was defending the title. So yeah, they had a bunch of different things going on. And yeah, this is probably like the most like organized or structured that they had their card, really.
And they only got even more organized as they went through this year into '89. Like one of the things I think I mentioned on the podcast a couple episodes back when we're talking about like '88, early '88. This was the year you start seeing a really big shift in the priorities of how they of the different types of wrestlers they had. They went more athletic. You'll notice by the time you get to like the end of '88 to '89, the Rockers were a thing. Obviously, Rick Rude is one of the top heels in the company at this point. A lot the Dom Rockers are gone. Junkyard Dog gone. Mr. Wonderful gone. A lot of the guys from this is truly the shift from the rock and roll wrestling era. I would say at this point we're out of that now and we're shifting into a new era. I've always said that 1988, well 89 mostly, 89 roster wise, I would take 89's roster top to bottom against any of the WWE rosters in the history of the company, just in terms of talent pool.
Yeah, I would say that they were really, because at this point you're starting guys like Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, the guys that would rule the early to mid '90s are really just starting to get their start, and Vince has always. I know a lot of people crap on Vince for relying on legends, and we're not going to go down that road tonight, but he has always looked at that company from a 5 to 10 year perspective. It's like, okay, Hogan's hot right now, but who's the next Hogan? Who's the next guy that's going to carry this company? Because even back then, Vince knew this ride ain't going to last forever. And if this, God forbid, this guy gets hurt, the fans lose interest, he ages out, whatever the case may be, who's next? He's always looked for who's next while still holding on to, for as long as he can, the people that, paid the bills in the past.
Yeah. And like in this case, also like the territories were almost all but finished at this point.
Right.
Yes.
So they raided, they signed a lot of people from different places because, I mean, the other like at this point, I think it was just down to them and Crockett at this point. And World Class was still there, but they had lost a lot of people. And the AWA was barely breathing at this point. So it was, a lot of the competition was not there anymore. And they had signed a whole lot of those people. So
this segment they're doing here with Hacksaw and Andre, man, I remember being horrified watching, Hacksaw bleeding from the mouth after Andre headbutted him repeatedly.
Yeah.
This was pretty violent back in the day, especially, considering what WWE was at this point in time. It was very much, geared toward, I mean, it's always been geared towards kids, but it was very obvious who their market was here. And to see something like that was pretty interesting.
But it's also the era where they start doing remember we talk about like how the censor,
the
little X in the middle. Well, around this time, like a couple months after this, we had the Ron Bass beefcake thing happened in August of this year, or July of this year. The censor in the middle. They tried to be a little edgier. Like I said, shifting from the rock and roll cartoon, wrestling into a little more adult theme. I mean, again, Savage is your champion now, so it's a little different.
Yeah.
To your point, you're talking about like the shift of philosophies and shifting like 10 years on the road. Again, now granted, Hogan's going away for a while because he's doing both No Holds Bar, but you're trying a Savage now to see could he be the guy for a little while, and he succeeded for the record. Not
only that, Vince didn't just look at his company evolving; he looked at his viewers evolving. If you take the people who were there for the beginning of Hulkamania, they're now about the age that Rob and I are getting to be 14, 15, 16, 17 years old. Those kids are growing up. And, looking at this, you can kind of surmise that, okay, those kids that were 8, 9, 10 years old at the beginning of this are now teenagers. They can handle something a little bit more mature. Vince has always watched his audience mature. When you came out of the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era and John Cena came along, John Cena started looking around going, well, the Attitude Era kids are starting to bring their kids, to these events. And, that's when he said, look, I got to tone down my act and, maybe we ought to, think about changing things to cater to the influx of new fans. And I think WWE has always done that, fairly well.
Yeah, I agree. I'll be honest with you. I quite as kept. Hogan, obviously Hogan's one of my all-time favorites, but I gotta be honest with you. I don't really enjoy anything pre-86. Anything pre-80, late 85, early 86, don't really enjoy. Like once Savage gets there in late 85, I'm kind of into it a little bit. But I wasn't really a huge fan of the 84, 85. Like I haven't watched WrestleMania 1 or 2, well WrestleMania 1 mostly in decades. To me it's born unwatchable in my opinion.
I don't know that I've ever watched 1 and 2 more than once.
I watched 1 like once. I watched 2 a million times because they showed it on. It was on cable. They showed like and so I watched WrestleMania 2 like a million times. But see, this is when I've watched the old UWF, and so here Duggan was there before, and then DiBiase came from the UWF, and so did Jake and Coco Beware and the One Man Gang. So I was familiar with all of those guys when they came here.
Hacksaw's amazing, man, because he clearly hits the gym, but he's also clearly not a guy to turn down a few beers after the show.
Right.
Yeah. But would you like I said, your point about the shift though in eras, you're seeing more body guys, more fit guys, and like obviously it's still the Hacksaws and the Hogans and all the big guys, but you're seeing more fit guys, more smaller guys too, also entering the company as we move on to this year. Go ahead, Rob. Go ahead.
Oh, because and on that note, because like guys like Big John Studd weren't around anymore in '88, and
he did come back for a little stint in '89 though.
Yeah, that was not good.
Vince has always liked his big fat guys though. Like you look at what he tried to do with One Man Gang. Eventually, the gimmick changed with Akeem. You look at the Boss Man and Earthquake and Tugboat. I mean, Vince has always liked those big hosses.
Of course.
So, I mean, we can say, we shifted towards the more body guys, but he's always had an affinity for those. He's looking for the next kind of not so fit guy that can get out there and move.
Well, because look, there's nothing like seeing some big dude like Andre or whatever get picked up and slammed. Okay.
Absolutely.
There's nothing like that. Or even like somebody like Lex Luger picking up some big 400-pound guy and putting him in a torture rack. I mean, there's nothing like seeing that.
Yeah.
Vince has always understood this is a kaiju fight. And, kaiju fight makes money. And the big, as Big E would say, big meaty men slapping meat is where the payday is.
So it's like the heavyweight in boxing, right? When boxing always hinges on the heavyweight division. If the heavyweight division is right, then that's when boxing makes the most money.
Right. Absolutely.
Hercules. You guys fans of him?
I was.
It was okay.
I hated him as a heel for all the reasons I was supposed to. When they did the little babyface turn with him that comes up in about a year or so after this takes place.
Not even a year. A few months.
Oh, is it a few months?
Yeah,
okay.
In October.
My timeline is off.
No, you're in the right area. This happens later this year, October 88.
Oh, okay. I was here for it. I thought it was interesting. DiBiase's out here throwing money around, and Hercules got caught in the middle of that, and I don't know if it's so much I was a fan of Hercules, but I just wanted to see somebody beat the crap out of Ted DiBiase for being such a jerk. And even if it was Hercules, I was fine with it.
Well, that's what I went with. They went with the whole spin of Hercules contract being sold to DiBiase or selling him as a slave and all that, which again probably a little controversial even in '88, but still.
Well, I'll just say it's a good thing they used Hercules and not like Butch Reed for that.
Right.
True. I'll let one of you gentlemen offer the commentary on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they were really walking the line with DiBiase and Virgil, but the nice thing is there was a beautiful payoff.
Yeah,
with Virgil, not only in the turn, but in the fact that he beat DiBiase for the $1 million belt.
4 years later. I mean, you got that 4 years later, but still, you still got it.
Yeah, it was a 4-year payoff. But we still got the payoff, and it was well done.
I guess for one, again, I think I've said it before. I never really got the outrage over Virgil. I mean, Like to me, he worked for DiBiase. Okay, fine.
Well, Rob, to your point though, you actually I don't know what episode we did this. Probably it might have been in the March '88 episode we did. You had a good perspective on that actually. Because I was when I was saying that was kind of weird back then. You know, him being a servant of DiBiase, and you said no, he played a character. It made sense. He was being paid by DiBiase. He did his job, kind of thing, and that's it. And then it got paid off in the end. So your perspective that you gave on this, I think a few episodes back on this show actually sold me on that now more. You know, I feel more comfortable.
I would add to that. One could argue they did Virgil more dirty after they split him up from DiBiase.
Oh yeah, because eventually he turned into just a jobber and just
another job guy.
Didn't work. Look at Heenan getting involved.
Heenan was so dastardly.
Fucking love that guy, dude.
Oh yeah, Heenan, all time great. Probably the best manager in the history of wrestling.
I don't think it's probable at all.
Yeah,
I think he is. Period.
Absolutely.
Because people say, well, Heyman. I go, Heyman. I found a great comment with Paul Heyman, and this is not knocking Paul Heyman. I think Paul Heyman's amazing. Paul Heyman's Phil Jackson. That's who he is.
Yeah.
Paul Heyman takes already great talent to another level. So Phil Jackson, working with Michael Jordan, working with Kobe, Shaq, Pippen, taking the elite talent to another level. Bobby Heenan took underwhelming talent that needed a polishing of a voice, like a Hercules or, guys of that nature, and made them viable.
I absolutely agree with you. And Hercules is the perfect example.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy was a solid enough worker, and he went on and had good match. Him and Hacksaw are having a hell of a good match right here.
Not bad for two guys who are not very technical.
Yeah, but without the mouthpiece, without Bobby Heenan, who is Hercules? Because the guy was forgettable. Where was he? Was he? It was
like Florida or somewhere.
He was Florida, in Florida. Yeah. I don't know if he spent any time in AWA or not.
I forget, but yeah, it was
when he was just going as Hercules Hernandez.
Yeah, I mean,
and by the way, they tried it a little, pushing him in late '86. He got a title match with Hogan on the main event.
Yeah.
In November of '86, he got a title match.
Yeah,
so they tried to push him a little bit because the Hercules, big bulky guy, could take down Hogan, and didn't work, obviously.
Well, it was Vince's experiment with body guys who had zero personality. I don't know if you remember when he brought in the guys. He actually looks a bit like Hercules, but I can't come up with his name right now. Al Perez. Was it Al Perez?
Yeah, Al Perez had zero personality.
What year was this?
Man. Great looking dude.
What year was this, guys?
It was like, because he was in
90.
Maybe like 89 or 90.
89 or 90. Al Perez was there for like a cup of coffee.
Al Perez
was there for he was there for like 5 minutes, and he was just a jobber.
And I was watching
one match and a cup of coffee, and that was it.
Yeah.
Let me look this up actually, because I don't remember that. And 89, 90, I was watching religiously at the time too. So
he was a Saturday morning jobber. He never got any further than that. It was just because like a bunch of different companies tried.
Billy Jack Haynes is the one I'm thinking of, though.
Okay.
Yeah, but he was also used in he was on WrestleMania 3. Him and Hercules had a feud.
So Hercules started out in the Central States territory in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
Then he went to and so he spent most of his time there, it looks like.
I think this may be one of the best overall actual wrestling matches Hacksaw ever had.
Of course.
There's the finish, big clothesline.
Look at Bobby.
Here comes Heenan.
Yeah.
Bobby could do that because behind him is I'm safe. I got that guy.
Big old Andre.
Also, and then he worked for Crockett for a little while, and then he went to Mid-South for Watts for a little while, and then he went to Florida for a little while. So he bounced around.
Yeah.
Hercules.
Territory guy.
Oh, look at this. It's a Warrior.
They're just working. Oh, here comes. Oh, what shit? I forgot. That's right. The Warrior was feuding with
Hercules.
With Hercules at the time.
They had a horrendous match at WrestleMania 4.
That was terrible.
Oh, yeah.
Terrible match.
Like, do you guys think of Warrior being a world title guy at this point?
Here, no.
No.
because no. I mean, it was obvious. I saw him as like, okay, well, they're going to try to do something with him, but I mean, at this point, no. I mean, he was, like I said, he was a guy who kind of fit the mold of what they would try to do, something they try to do something with, but not at that point.
Because Rob, we're literally 4 months from winning the IC title.
I know, yeah, but it did right here at this point, no.
Okay.
But now maybe about a month or so before he won the IC title, well, because he did get better in the next couple of months. It's just at this point right here, he still wasn't.
He was still fresh with the company. They were still trying to figure him out.
They were pushing Beefcake at this time to be that next guy in the mid card.
Yeah.
But why did that not work though? Anybody knows?
Beefcake?
He was over. I don't understand why they didn't pull a trigger on him.
I think, and I'm actually doing a something similar to what we're doing here. Talking, it's called the Big Four Project. I'm doing with PC Tunney from the Chairshot Radio Network and Dave Ungar. It's the Big Four Attitude of Aggression, and we go through year by year, and we're actually on year 90. We're doing the Big Four pay-per-views: Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, Survivor Series, SummerSlam, all of that. And we're actually in the Warrior. We just the last one we did, the Warrior just lost the championship to Sergeant Slaughter.
91.
In a couple episodes prior to that, we were talking about Beefcake, and apparently when he had that parasailing accident that almost killed him, prior to that, they were planning a big push for Beefcake, and I think at one point he was supposed to win the Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah, here.
Yeah.
I mean, 4 actually.
Yes.
Well, this time they just decided not to. The accident was like a couple of years later.
Yeah, 90.
Right. But it's they had plans for him. And I think that derailed it because and I didn't know that up until recently because like you, I had that same question. Brutus Beefcake was over as fuck, and for him to never have at least won the Intercontinental Championship, I don't know what's going on or why it didn't happen. I never understood why they never pulled the trigger on the guy.
Yeah.
It's like I guess maybe by the time it got on. Close to SummerSlam, maybe they thought there was more potential with Warrior than him. That's the only thing I can think of. I mean, because
in hindsight, it was the right move because the way they did it with Warrior and Honky at SummerSlam '88, and we actually covered that one time on the show. Not too much the show, but the Mega Powers against the Mega Bucks and. We discussed it a little bit on the episode. It was the right move because the way was not only because of what they did, putting Warrior, but the execution was perfect.
Yeah,
I think it did more for Warrior than anything else and for the company.
And you couldn't have done that with Beefcake.
No. I think it would have been short lived. I think it would have been okay, but then you get tired. After a couple months, you get tired of it.
I feel like Beefcake is one of those guys who the money has always been in the chase.
Correct.
Like once you put the belt on Beefcake, what does that look like?
Right. In hindsight, they did the right thing. It's like Jake also, and also with like Jake Roberts. Like Jake Roberts didn't need the belt. Could he won it and be okay? Yeah, fine. But guys like Jake Roberts didn't need a belt either.
No, I think if Jake Roberts had been Intercontinental Champion, we would still be talking about his career much the same way we do already.
Yeah, and I just. And plus, I mean, his character wasn't like some people. Some people. Championship, winning and holding championships it's a character trait. Also, it's not just a booker's decision. Like some people, that's their character. And what Jake was not. Jake tormented people and whatnot. That wasn't. That wasn't his gimmick to go chasing after championships.
Good point. Very good point.
And I mean, same thing with Beefcake. His whole thing was, I'm gonna, cut people's hair and make fun of them, basically. And that's another thing. Just didn't really, lend itself to being somebody who chases after championships, and tries to win championships.
And I gotta say too, also quiet as kept, like the IC title between '86. No disrespect to Tito Santana, of course, but between Savage, slowly Ricky Steamboat for a couple months, into Honky. Into Warrior, into Rude and Warrior again, into Perfect. By far the greatest run of that title, year to year we've ever seen in the company to this day. The relevancy of them, in other words.
I think Shawn and Razor elevated that belt. I think the feud with Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon, because I've always been an IC title guy, like going back to Tito Santana. I've always been the working man's champion. And I've always been very invested in all the storylines. I'll agree with you to a line that it made it feel more relevant, but I feel like Shawn and Razor brought more legitimacy back to that championship.
I do agree with you on that one. But let me say this though: the reason why I said I mentioned Warrior here too, because and maybe because I was a kid. But to me, when Warrior held the title, it felt on level with the world title almost.
And that's what I was going to say. They started to put that belt on guys. It was almost like the graduation before you go up to the main event. Right. Like you won the IC title, you've carried it for a little while. Let's see how you do with it. Okay, now kid, you're ready for the big time. And Rude and Warrior absolutely did that.
Yeah. Danny Davis.
I hated Danny
But Davis. I love the gimmick. But for the whole year, I love that gimmick though. The whole like bad referee gets fired from being referee, ends up being a manager, and
God, Beefcake just body slammed him, and he like put him down.
Yeah. The sick part of Danny Davis though, he quietly goes back to being an actual referee like a year later, like on TV, and no one says a fucking word about it. Like, oh, he's back.
He wasn't very good at this.
That's why Beefcake put him down gently. I'm like, are you trying to beat him up or take him to prom? What are you doing here?
But it was the gimmick, though. It was the gimmick.
Yeah. He wasn't supposed to be. Yeah, I think this is good night, sir.
Look at Jimmy Hart. Jimmy Hart. I love Jimmy Hart, dude. Like we talk about Bobby, we talk about Paul Heyman, and obviously greatest of all time. But again, we discussed in the past. Mount Rushmore managers, he's in there.
For me,
go ahead, Rob. I'm sorry.
For me, it's Heenan, Cornette. I put Sherry up there.
Sherry's amazing.
And and then Jimmy and Paul Heyman. Those are like my top 5.
Yeah.
Jimmy Hart in there. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Freaking Beefcake in his damn tights.
God,
he won the match, right? Yeah.
Going crazy for him. Look at this.
Yeah.
And so
I think another thing too, also with Beefcake, because he was such a kind of unserious character to some degree, probably why they put the title on him. They wanted someone a little more serious, Warrior a little more serious, and guys like that.
So now is he going to actually? Okay, he's actually cutting, because when he first started doing the haircutting thing, he barely cut anybody's hair.
Yeah.
And I found that insulting, because I was coming off of Jimmy Valiant and Paul Jones, where they shaved each other bald. But they didn't play around. I mean, and look, that's why a lot of times when they do haircutting angles now, I'm just like, what are y'all? I just like this, like it stinks. Like because now, I mean, they barely cut anybody's hair now when they do a haircutting angle. And like I said, I grew up on Jimmy Valiant and Paul Jones. You got to shave them bald if you're going to do a haircutting angle. And then they need to keep, they need to stay bald for a while to sell it,
Kind of like Vince did in Do-Rag era Vince.
Yeah, I mean, that's what
I gotta watch that. I've seen
hair took like 2 years to grow out. It feels like.
That's what you're supposed to do that though. If you do a haircutting angle, whoever gets the haircut is supposed to keep it, bald or at least very short to sell that they got, what happened to them.
Well, that's what Jimmy Hart's doing here with the berets he's wearing, isn't it? He's selling the haircut.
Yeah,
because Beefcake cut off the mullet.
Yeah, I love how they wake him up. He hits him in the back and wakes him up. Look at here! Oh my god! And he beats his ass after that. I think also this is his last match as a wrestler. I think after this, Danny Davis goes back to refereeing pretty much right after this. I think. So I remember Danny Davis doing any more TV as a wrestler after this point. Maybe
no, that was it. I think that was his big run as a wrestler.
Yeah.
All his hair in the ring, and it doesn't look like Danny Davis really lost any hair.
Yeah.
Is that Joe Morella? That's Joe Morella. I think it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Joey Morella, Hulkamania.
And now, okay, so now,
We
oh,
get to the,
wait a minute, did they just skip right to it, or is
yeah,
this?
they go. No. This is Mania 4. This is the highlight.
Oh, this is when
This
he
is
was okay.
this is the semifinals highlights.
Okay,
Savage against One Man
okay,
Gang.
because yeah, I'm One Man Gang came over from UWF.
Mm-hmm. Now, while we agree Bobby Heenan is the greatest manager of all time, this is my favorite manager of all time, Slickster.
I love Slick. And when I did my, actually, I had a hat that was almost identical to Slick's, but it was just blue. It was like blue with like a red little ribbon around it. And he was one of the people that I patterned my my character off of, when I managed, just because I always loved listening to this guy talk.
Yep.
Loved the way he interacted with the crowd. Absolutely just incredible work. And I feel like he flew below a lot of radars.
You damn right.
Oh yeah. Now my favorite manager was Cornette.
Sarcastic.
So,
turn out the lights, the party's over. I used to love that. I popped every time he did that.
What a macho man. The One Man Gang. Love Slick, dude. I'm sorry. I watch every promo, the dancing in the ring. It's such a, oh my God. So great.
He had it all, man.
Yeah, he's so great.
That dude was so good.
And here's the dancing. I have to know, why did they change from One Man Gang to Akeem? What One Man Gang I thought worked. Why'd they change it?
I think he was just a kind of generic, well, not generic, but I'm guessing he just didn't get any traction because he's just like, because like here, he's another big guy, right? And this is, they'd already had like King Kong Bundy, and then Andre was still there, and and all. It's just So I think it's just that's what it was. He was just
and they got him looking like he just walked out of a biker bar, being managed by a guy who's probably never even been in a biker bar.
Look at Slick. I'm sorry. Dancing
so something had to give. Either we're putting Slick in leather chaps and a vest.
Right. So I'm looking up Slick's bio here. All right. So
there's a champ.
All right.
God, look at that mohawk mullet.
So Slick started in Texas All-Star Wrestling.
Elizabeth. Fucking gorgeous.
Lovely, lovely lady. Look at that.
Savage is champion, man. So obviously before we got here, you guys said that you had no idea that Savage would be champion a month prior to him winning at Mania 4. Now we're a month after Mania 4. How weird was this for you to see him as world champion at this point?
Oh, it fit for me. Yeah.
Yeah, it was still weird for me. I was in on Randy Savage, but I didn't get all in on Randy Savage until after he lost the belt. And then I was like, wait a minute, looking back, that was actually really fucking cool. Can I have some more of that?
The Hogan? Also the Hogan, you mean?
Yes.
Okay, World Cup, right, okay.
Because I don't feel like they did a whole lot with him in that year. Like they spent the whole year trying to throw you curveballs to throw you off of the scent that eventually this is wrapping back around to him and Hogan. And so I don't know. I would like to have seen. I need to go back and revisit his year as world champ the first time because I remember it differently.
You mean Savage?
Yes.
Well, he was mostly a babyface other than the last 2 months.
Yeah, he was a babyface, but I need to go back and watch, some of the stuff that he did during that time because I won't say I wasn't a fan of it, but it felt weird. Maybe it was because after almost 4 years of Hulkamania, having somebody else out there just felt weird.
Well, that, and then Savage was a heel most of the way, and then he turned face like the year before that.
Right.
And you're still getting used to being babyface. It was hard to believe he's a babyface. And
then next thing you know, he's a heel again. But the heel turn, the turn back to being heel was brilliant.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
Still one of the best stories they've ever told.
Oh yeah, I always said that after the Bloodlines, this is the greatest storyline of all time.
And I mean they did, and this ran for 2 years, the Mega Power thing.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I think the only failure of that storyline is that so they ended at Mania 5, right? They blow off, and then you have the stuff going on with Savage and Zeus. And I know they wanted to Zeus into the mix because of the movie, but I felt they did the service to the Savage Hogan rivalry. I thought they could have got more legs out of that. A lot more juice out of that squeeze. A lot more squeeze that juice, honestly. Pushing that more of a solo thing. They kind of threw in the Zeus thing as part of the rivalry, which in hindsight I did not enjoy. In hindsight, at the time I was like, cool, whatever. Now I was like, yeah, I would not have done that. But
I had a friend of mine that was all in on Randy Savage, man. When Randy won the belt, I thought that kid was going to lose his mind. Because, like most of us, I thought it was just going to lead back to Hogan winning it back.
At 4, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
But that was the assumption, and that's why it was a kind of. That's why people. I know why people hate Mania 4 so much. It's a long card. It's a slog fest. I get that, but you do get a payoff.
Yeah, it's weird. A lot of people felt like it was a slog because of the tournament, but there have been cases where WWE have done tournaments right, like the original Kings of the Ring tournaments where they were all like one night tournaments. The one that Austin won, the 2 that Brett won. I enjoyed those. I felt like the matches were, as long as you keep the matches relatively short.
Yeah. By the beard. Look at
that. That move I always liked when Randy grabbed him and dragged him over to the rope and jumped out and hung him up on the top rope. I love that move.
It's a classic Savage move. And
it's so simple.
And nobody else really does that. He's the only one that's really done that. Like nobody else does that.
Somebody needs to bring that back.
Yeah, I mean, because because I don't think nobody ever. That's one of those nobody does that.
Grayson Waller, if you're listening, bring that back. Grayson Waller is a guy who should do that move. Do that as your setup for that roll in and. What's his finisher?
I hate that move. It's another one of those moves that it takes 10 minutes for him to set up, and the guy has to stand there.
Yeah, at least if you can justify it with him hanging him on the top rope and then selling the bump and slowly getting back up, and then if he times it right. But yeah, the way he's doing it now, it's not working for me.
Watch Slick here.
I love that, man.
He gets it, dude.
Everything that I did on the outside, man, I was trying to be slick.
Like a Savage Slinger.
Well, he's got him. And One Man Gang's got him.
As much as I like One Man Gang, I actually love the Akeem. I actually love the Akeem gimmick. Obviously, we'll see that in the months to come when we do these watch-alongs. But I
guess because I was not outraged over it. I thought it was dumb, right? But
yeah, I thought it was stupid. And I asked the same question that you just asked 5 minutes ago. Why? Was One Man Gang not working? And I guess Rob shed a little more light on that. But for me, at 15 years old, the One Man Gang was working just fine.
I mean, he was working for me because I had seen him in other places, and so I was familiar with him. But again, here he came in, then they already had King Kong Bundy and they had Andre, so he was just like another one of them, basically.
Yeah. They also make Savage here as a fighting champion too. Also, that was the push to also do with Savage. They made him a fighting champion.
No.
There's that elbow. Wow.
It's a heavy elbow, man.
Telling you. I mean, Gang is bordering on 500 pounds. So yeah,
he's all blown up too, man.
Yeah,
One Man Gang is blown up.
No, just funny with the whole weights because as a Top Dollar, he was on the Twitter earlier today, and basically,
Bump. Oh, wow.
because he told when they asked him, he said they asked him what he wanted to be billed as, and he said, well, I'm like, he said he was 6'5", he's legit like 6'5", like 350 or something, and he said they don't like, well, we can say you're 6'8" and 400 pounds, and he was like, why would I want to do that? 6'5" and 350 is big enough, isn't it? So yeah, so the heights and weights are just totally, I mean,
oh my God, they were billing Undertaker is what, 6'10", 6'11", and I think he's legit what, 6'8", 6'7", something like that.
Yeah, and now because look, they say Shinsuke is 6'2", and I'm like just a little bit taller than him. I stood next to him, so I'm 6'1", and so Shinsuke is not 6'2". He was listed as 6'2". He's not 6'2", because he,
splat.
Yeah, now
the whole gesture, the hand of the wings, hysterical.
Yeah,
I don't like what's going on, Liz. It's Savage protective. Hey, look at that Jerry curl, dude. Look at that.
Man, don't stand too close to the lights. Man, don't. Or good thing they didn't do the pyro back then. Boy, they had a Michael Jackson situation.
Yep, exactly. The commercial.
Boy.
And there you go. Boom, there's the bump. Game over.
Yeah.
That's it. Savage going for the elbow.
Yep, that's it. I would say this was a really good. Obviously we're early into the reign, but I would say this is a pretty good title reign for Savage this 1 year.
Yeah,
a lot of good feuds. He's feuded with DiBiase, obviously gang here, DiBiase, Bad News Brown, also toward the end. A little bit of Andre. He actually feuded with Warrior also too when he turned heel. After him and Hogan split up. For a month, him and Warrior did a bunch of house matches prior to Mania 5.
Yeah.
With both guys a champion. Warrior was IC champion. Savage was the world champion at the time. Kind of a little bit of prelude to come before they feuded again 2 years later in Mania 5. Mania 7, rather.
This was a nice little sprint of a match.
Yeah. Not too long, just get in, get out, get their shit in, and then you can get out there and go home. Yeah, so again, this is a nice start. This is actually also his first title defense on television.
Oh, okay.
That was also what was billed as at this point. All right. So I feel like these guys, the Bulldogs, were kind of underutilized a little bit. They had a little run in 86, won the world title, won the tag titles in 86, and then once they lost in 87, they just kind of lost momentum.
Well, it goes like.
I wonder how much of that was the Dynamite Kid.
Yeah, because he was injured. He was injured a lot and he had drug problems, I think. And
yeah,
there was a lot of stuff going on there, and he's one of those people that later on just proved to be like just a really terrible human being.
Yeah. I think we just covered Royal Rumble 91, and they brought the British Bulldog back in there. It was very obvious back in 90-91 that they had big plans for him. Dynamite is gone at this point. Davey's a solo act, and they were already pretty high on him as it was.
Well, to your point, TJ, like they pretty much ended the Bulldogs in this year in '88. But I think their last match I saw of note was SummerSlam '88. They're probably still together for a little while, did house shows over there, but they were not on TV again really after that. And Bulldog, I don't know where he went after that, but he came back to your point in '91 and Rumble. So, I do think they had a lot to do with Dynamite Kid. Oh, there's the BDS. There's a Voluntary Tag Team.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. I love Demolition. I think Demolition's top 10 tag team all time.
I'm sorry.
Okay, what is the issue with Demolition? Explain to everybody.
Because they're a fraud. They're a fraudulent hawking animal. That is the issue.
But they're not though. But I mean, they're different though. They are, but they aren't. They're different.
I mean, Vince literally made them up because hawking animal wouldn't come there. Okay, that's the whole reason they became a thing. Like literally.
The thing is though, they're different styles though.
But the whole point is that they got face paint and they're wearing spikes. Okay, that's the whole point. Okay, it doesn't. They didn't work the same, but the whole point was, I couldn't get the Road Warriors, so I'm going to get two guys and put face paint on them, and they're going to wear leather and spikes, and hopefully you people won't know the difference, right? I mean, that's all it was. Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah, but I feel like Demolition kind of eventually surpassed that.
Yeah,
and not surpassed the Road Warriors, but surpassed being a knockoff.
Yeah,
but look what happened as soon as got the real ones. Demolition got jobbed out. Okay, as soon as
they did.
Okay.
But I also think Axe was on his last legs. I think he was having some health problems.
Yeah.
Crush just was never going to cut it.
No.
And then that just once Axe was gone and Demolition was done, that was it.
All right, so I'm reading about Dynamite Kid here.
Okay, what you got there?
All right, so he suffered a serious injury in December '86, and
what was it?
December. It says a serious injury. So several wrestlers would substitute for him when tag team title defenses were made. It was a back injury. Okay.
He lost the titles a month later too. So
so now
Hart Foundation.
He checked himself out of the hospital against doctor's orders. Vince wanted them to drop the titles to Sheik and Volkov, and he refused. He said they only dropped the belts to the Hart Foundation. So
Interesting.
Vince said, because they all came up together like in Stampede.
True.
So Vince acquiesced, and the TV taping they dropped to the Hart Foundation.
And to be fair, that was the right move. Hart should have got the titles. That was the right move.
But I think that they actually did the title change because Dynamite couldn't go.
No, I'm saying, but having the Hart to be the guys to get it.
Yes. Yeah. And
to think.
Yikes! It says Dynamite was known for being a tough guy and stiffness as a worker. Mick Foley said that when he and wrestled when the Bulldogs in a tag team match early in Foley's career, Dynamite manhandled him so badly in the ring that he tore a ligament in Foley's jaw.
Oh man, really?
Jesus Christ!
I
ought to tell you something. When Benoit emulated the guy,
and he also was involved in heated backstage fights with Jacques Rougeau, one of which led to Rougeau hitting with a fistful of quarters.
Yeah,
jeez,
that's infamous.
Yeah. Dynamite claimed the Rougeau incident was not the final straw that drove him to leave, but a dispute with management over the issue of.
Well, I mean, it makes sense that he was an issue because the British Bulldogs on paper should be a top 5 tag team all time.
So basically, he had heat backstage with people, and he got injured a lot.
Right.
So okay, so that's what it is.
It's a shame because they were really good and they were over at one point too, man.
Oh yeah,
so extremely over. They should be a top 5 tag team all time, but they're not.
Legit, they should. I will not disagree with you there.
Yeah. So all right. So they wrestled their last WWF match at the '88 Survivor Series.
There we go.
All right.
So why did Bulldog take a long time to come back to wrestling? Though is a question to WF rather.
Oh, so they left. They went back to Stampede. They went to England. They went to Japan.
Oh, okay.
They traveled around a bit.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, so they split up in '89, but they still teamed in All Japan.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then.
See, I find these stories fascinating.
So basically, Davey Boy bailed on him. Basically, it says in 1990, Davey Boy abruptly withdrew the Bulldogs from All Japan's tag team league by returning to the WWF and fabricating a story to the All Japan office that Dynamite was in a car accident and unable to compete.
Wow, are you serious? Holy shit!
Well, this is according to Wikipedia. So he lied to the All Japan folks and said Dynamite couldn't go. So let us out of this tag team thing, and then he went back to the WWE.
That's great.
But he go back to 91 though, right?
Well, this says all right. So he withdrew from the Japan thing in 1990. So he may not have come back to WWF until 91.
Right.
There may have been a clause, or he just time or something.
Yeah. And,
so you think
by the time he gets back there, he's got the long hair with the braids, and
do you think that him and Dynamite fell out?
Oh yeah, because they did it. Yeah, they. But like Dynamite was he was one of those people just everybody just couldn't stand.
Yeah, at some point, what you got to do. I can understand it.
Well, it's one thing to go out there and make sure your stuff looks good. Like with what we're supposed to be doing, and there's one thing that drives me nuts about a lot of people in this younger generation is make it look good. Make me believe that you're actually trying to fight each other. You don't have to kill each other. And there are just a lot of guys in the business, and this guy was one of them. Benoit was another one where it's like, I'm going to hit you. You know, Jericho famously tells a story about one of the first times he was in the ring with Benoit. Benoit slapped him so hard he knocked him out. Slapped him, just a slap.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
Knocked him out, legit. You know, and guys wrestle like that. Yeah, a guy I worked with, Dave Johnson, said he wrestled Stan Hansen in Japan a couple times. And every time Stan wrestled him, he knocked him out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, guys, but I don't know. I think you can make it look good without killing one another.
Yeah. Well, like there's that match, of course, where Shamrock was doing a little too much of Vader, and Vader just clocked him and said,
right. Well, and like what Lesnar did to Strowman. Strowman got in there, was getting a little ahead of himself, and Lesnar clocked him one good time. Stuff like that is fine, but if your entire intention is to go out there and legitimately beat up the other guy, that's not what we're doing here.
Yeah,
right.
And it's not what this is supposed to be, and that was part of the reason why I got out. Was there were just too many guys that were like just taking it way too seriously. We're taking, they got guys that were, 39, 40, 41 years old, never went anywhere. And, they'll be damned if the next generation of kids is going to get over.
Right.
And I was like, nah, that's not why I got into this. I got into this because I want to entertain people. And I grew up watching it as a kid. And if this isn't what it is, then, I'll make it look good, but I'm not about to get in here and get beat up by some guy who, is bitter because he never had a career beyond, Tampa, Florida.
Yeah, so this is also the start of Demolition's title reign also too. They just won the belts at Mania 4 over Strikeforce. Which, by the way, I don't understand why they pulled that so soon on Strikeforce. Did someone get hurt? No, Martel did get hurt, right? Martel did get hurt.
Well, he had a kayfabe injury angle, but let's see. Well, let's go to see what we can find out here because
the Wikipedia.
Yep.
I know he got hurt. He was out for a year because he came back and then they feuded him at Mania 5. Well, not Mania 5. They wrestled Mania 5 and broke up Mania 5 actually.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can argue that all day long, but it gave us one of the more memorable characters in WWE history.
Rick Martel?
In the model.
Dude, Rick Martel is one of the greatest mid-card characters in the history of the company. He was so good. So good.
Yeah, he was. God, look at the beef on this dude. This guy's veins had veins.
Oh, well.
You mean the Rock, right? The Rock?
Yeah, the Rock.
The Rock?
Yeah, Don Morocco, yeah. Okay, so this is again according to Wikipedia. All right, so on June 1st, Smash hit Martel with a chair, and on June 18th, it was announced he suffered back injuries and concussion. So in kayfabe, he was out injured. In reality, he was granted leave and took 6 months off to care for his severely ill wife.
Ah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, this all happened after he lost the titles, though. Don't forget that.
Yeah. So they did an injury angle because he needed to take time
What
off.
side is this that you find this stuff on, Mark?
This is Wikipedia.
Oh, okay. Oh, gee. The same. Okay.
So, no.
I don't think Morocco sticks around much after this, does he?
Oh, no, he's gone after SummerSlam, too.
Yeah.
But I was telling you, like, this is the big shift. A lot of these older Golden Era guys are starting to phase out. Junkyard Dog, Morocco's, all these guys.
Because
this guy was the biggest heel in the company at this point now.
Yeah.
I would say at this point, he even surpassed Andre.
Oh, well, yeah, because Andre was, he was Andre was cooked at this point. I mean,
Yeah. Oh,
makes me sad after watching that Andre documentary that him and Vince never had closure.
Wait, you finally watched it?
Yeah, I watched it about 3 months ago, right before we really started kicking these.
You didn't tell me though. I asked you to watch it, and you never told me you watched it.
I thought I told you.
I was going to give you a book report. No, I'm joking.
Well, I failed that book report. But yeah, it's sad because him and Vince never got closure. Basically, he walked away and said, F this place, F this guy, and him and Vince never reconciled. And, Vince, at least, in the documentary was when they interviewed him at the time, was still kind of upset about it.
Did you get the baby oil thing though? Baby oil. Get
out.
Savage, him and Savage.
Well, because say what you want about Vince, but he always, if things go bad with somebody, he does try to make it right later if he can.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The guy,
because I think Andre left, and then I think Andre was gone within like a year after that, if I'm remembering the documentary correctly.
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
Andre left, and then within a year he had passed away, and there was no closure for Vince.
So Andre's last match was in '90. He left the company in '91. He would do appearances here and there. Left in '91, and then he died in '93 or early '93, January '93.
Yeah,
and it's just, you could start seeing like as early as like '86 when he won that Battle Royal WrestleMania 2. He when it was over, it like you could. He looked in bad shape even then.
Yeah, I would love to see a DiBiase world champion run again. Wrong era to do this because if you threw in a DiBiase in this era today, he's a multiple champion.
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
So good.
No wasted movement. Everything he did meant something. Telling more story with just his body language and not really doing anything. God, he was good.
Yeah. And
someone I appreciate as I got older, especially. Like you're always supposed to hate him as a kid.
Right.
But then you get older, you watch it with different eyes, like, oh, this dude's fucking awesome.
When I really appreciated DiBiase and how good he was when Flair came to WWE and the two of them locked up briefly in the Royal Rumble.
Was that 92, 93?
Was it 92, Rob?
That Rumble was 92, yeah.
Yeah, it was 92, and they locked up. And it was funny because you get the first sense of the crowd knows what's up because the crowd popped for it. And they were both like the biggest heels in the world at the time. DiBiase and Flair, and all of a sudden the two of them are locking up. The crowd ate it up. I ate it up. I'm like, please give me 10 minutes of these two going back and forth.
It's hard to believe that DiBiase was actually a face for a little while in 93. It's weird.
Yeah.
That's fucking weird.
Morocco almost dropped DiBiase on his head with that power slam.
Mm-hmm. There's a superstar, Billy Graham.
Talk about cooked at this point.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
He retired at this point. He was done.
Oh yeah, he was finished. I think he was walking around with a cane because he had legitimate hip surgery.
Yep, sure did.
I think that because I remember them showing that on TV. Because when they were still pretending he was going to mount a comeback career. They showed his parts of his surgery on TV.
Yeah. DiBiase is really good. Yeah. Different era. He's champion 5 times over.
Yeah.
At least. So, real quick, a little off topic here. DJ, you sent me a thing today. The Rockville festival coming up in May. Is it May? Is it May again this year?
It's May. Yeah. Is that lineup not sick?
It's sick, and it's a lot of bands I did not realize were still touring. That's on that bill. Like, what? Trust Company's still touring? Like, what?
Yeah, Fear Factory still touring. Alien Ant Farm still touring.
Now, granted, Fear Factory, I'm going to see those. I'm going to see them internationally in February. So, Soulfly, I saw ages ago at the very first
Ozfest that I went to back in 90. See, I got an ophthalmology in 99.
Probably 99 because they Sepultura Max left Sepultura in 97. So far, I started 98, 99. So that'd be 99.
Yeah, so I think it was like 90, 98 when I saw them. Because Ozzy obviously was Ozfest. Megadeth was there.
Mm-hmm.
Cold Chamber was one of the bands. First time I ever saw Seven Dust was there.
Oh my!
I didn't even know Soulfly was still a thing.
So Seven Dust is in my top 5 favorite bands all time. So it's Fear Factory.
I've seen them 3 or 4 times now. They're really good live.
I've seen them 10 times. Oh, Seven Dust 10 times. I've seen them 10 times.
Yeah, they're good. They're really good.
I'm a huge fan. Fear Factory I've seen about 8, 9 times. In my top 5 also favorite bands all time.
All right, so we got a 3 count there, and
yeah.
So what happened when Morocco had his foot on the ropes?
Didn't matter. You can't see can't count you don't see, buddy.
All right, so wait a minute. So why did
his ass.
So why did they not
look at the referee? Was that a botch?
I don't know. Well, the ref should have. Let me see, ref.
The
ref can't see it from his vantage point.
I'm guessing that may have been because that doesn't. I mean, why would you just? That's a weird. That's a weird finish to have. I mean,
I guess it was their way of protecting Morocco, who was on his way out the door at that point. I don't know.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
There's my belt.
Because
that's my title.
It must have been planned because look, back then Vince would have told him to go out there and do it again.
Well, then again, it makes you wonder: did we ever see this ref again? Because I don't recognize that ref.
No, I've seen him a couple times.
No, yeah, okay.
Technically, the first guy to hold a Wing Eagle belt. First guy to hold it. Like, remember we watched the main event and Hogan came out against Andre.
Yes,
but when he did this promo before the match, he had the other belt. So DiBiase gets Andre. So Andre technically wins the first time, was winning about 30 seconds. Goes to DiBiase, couple days, vacated, Savage. So technically Savage is the first guy that has the belt for actual period of time.
Right.
This dude, probably top 10 for me. Probably top 10 for me all time.
Yeah.
Character-wise, the whole 9. Apparently him and Heenan didn't get along well, though.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently. Which is weird.
Well, he's a guy, like, I understand. I don't feel like Rick Rude ever needed a manager. The guy can talk. He looks like $1 million. He can talk. He can go in the ring. Like I said, I'm just speculating as to why there might have been heat between the two of them, but I don't feel like Rick Rude ever needed Bobby Heenan.
Yeah, it is. That's true. I'm not. Some of the Arn Anderson was talking about that because they put him and Tully with Bobby when they got there, and it was kind of the same thing. It felt kind of weird for them because it's like they had always done their own promos in the NWA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so it was, the Arn said it was never really a good fit with them and Bobby because they didn't. I mean, because again they always talk for themselves and they had their own kind of cheating thing down as a tag team anyway. Mm-hmm. So they didn't really need him to cheat for them either. As far as how they worked, and it just never really kind of. It was never really a good fit for them with Bobby, and so I can see, Rude didn't. Yeah, I mean, Rude didn't need him either.
Speaking of Jerry Curl.
Oh yeah.
By the way, Rick Rude's Warrior's best feud is still with Rick Rude.
Always.
Oh yeah, and I think his best matches were with Rick Rude, and
I would say Rude. I would say Savage probably is up there too, though. Still, that's Mania 7 match with Savage. Him and Hogan in Mania 6 is amazing. But in terms of actual feuds, Rick Rude is. I don't think it's even close. To be honest with you, I think it's Warrior Rude and they ain't close.
I think also Rude maybe because they worked together in was it World Class, Rob?
Did they?
So,
because they worked prior to WWE. They worked together when. Because you can actually, that's on the Peacock, I believe. I watched them a few years back when he was still the Dingo Warrior versus Rick Rude.
Oh, interesting.
So they had history prior to WWE. And I think he may have been one of the few people in the business that Warrior respected, like truly respected. And that's why he put on the work boots when he went out to the ring with them.
Because I think their matches were the best as far as two guys working together. Like,
right.
Whereas, I mean, Hogan and Savage were clearly like leading him through the match.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can just, I mean, you can watch and tell that they were calling everything and telling him everything to do, and he was just kind of doing what he was told. Whereas with him and Rude, it felt more like they were actually working together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why some 89 matches are amazing. And it's funny because like it felt like a main event match because you think about it, that was the only title on that show that I was actually defended.
Mm.
And Rude was a champion going into that match.
One thing I always liked, and again, it always kind of circles back to when I think of some of my favorite feuds in wrestling, Ricky Steamboat is in some combination of those. Ricky Steamboat and Ric Flair, Rick Steamboat and Steve Austin. Ricky Steamboat and Rick Rude had an awesome feud in WCW. Like that era of WCW for work rate wrestling is untouchable.
89, 91, 89,
Yes.
90. Yeah,
untouchable.
Because
the movie I watched is amazing. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Rob. Go ahead.
Because I think it was 92. They had like Rude and Steamboat had like an Iron Man match on a pay-per-view.
Really?
It was 30 minutes.
Incredible feud.
Yeah, and it was 30 minutes. It wasn't an hour, but it was I mean, just excellent match. It was in 92, I think. So
yeah, although the business in general was not doing well, I would stack up 92 to 94 WCW pre-Hogan, like those last couple of years before Hogan came over. I would stack that roster up work rate wise against just about anybody in all the decades.
I agree with you. I agree.
There was some incredible wrestling going on in that time period.
I wouldn't say I was well schooled in everything in that era, but I did watch a little bit of WCW in that time, and there was some really good stuff coming out of that company at that time. They just didn't have the marketability the same way WWF had at the time.
So from a business standpoint, getting Hogan was the right move for them, but the dynamic shifted once he came on board.
Yeah, it was basically WWF 2.0.
Pretty much.
Which in hindsight, you don't really enjoy. I think I would say WCW's best years, honestly, is from 88 to 93.
I agree. That 5-year period was incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Coco Beware. Any Coco Beware thoughts?
I always liked Coco. I think at one point he was just about as over as, any mid-card guy could have been. People loved the Bird. They loved, they loved his energy. I did. We were big fans in my house. I understand why in 1988, looking back at it, I get why Vince probably never did anything more with him than he did, but he's a guy I can look at and say, okay, why didn't that guy ever, at least challenge for the IC championship on a at least semi-regular basis?
So Saturday's main event aired every January. They had the main event in February, March, April, October, and November. So we get a break from the main event for the summer, pretty much, unless the spring into the summer. We don't see these guys into the fall. And I'll tell you, when you watch the main event from what you saw here and the main event in October, it's a different company.
Yeah,
you can see the shift even a few months later. Except with the talent shifting, all that, you can see differences in there. So that's a good show, guys. We'll get out of here. Yeah. Any last thoughts on this card? And March Madness. I mean, Macho Madness in full swing now.
Well, I guess I'm curious as to now with the deal that they signed for SmackDown, they're going to have some primetime specials, and so I'm just curious as to whether it's going to be stuff like this, or if it's just going to be like tribute to the troops kind of stuff.
Is there a thirst for that though? For a certain main event type of thing again in the future?
Well, who knows? I mean, it just probably definitely not like the main event kind of thing, like with the Hogan, because they're just not going to get the audience for that today.
And not only that, it's too much programming too. Oversaturated programming at this point now.
Yeah, so it would be nice though to see something just, but it's kind of hard to do that kind of thing now because I mean, Monday Night Raw is almost like a Saturday Night's main event kind of card.
To your point,
every week. So
yeah, main event ended in '92. Raw starts literally 3 months later.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. When you have 2 weekly episodic shows, do you need to throw like a special or a super show out there? And I feel like that's market overkill. I don't know that we need that. Like, what do you do with that? Is it like a mini pay-per-view? Is it like a beefed up Raw or SmackDown? I don't know. That's an odd call to me.
Yeah. Anyway, fellas, plug away on the plug. It was a great show as always, man. I enjoyed this one.
Had fun, man.
Did you want to go first or Rob? Rob,
go ahead.
Okay. Well, so you can hear us along with Jason on the Mindless Wrestling Podcast, also always every week, and you can hear me basically every 2 weeks on my own thing, the Rob the Genius Podcast.
Yes, sir. DJ.
I don't have much to add. I'm with Rob and Jason. We drop on Saturdays usually, as long as I get the episode in on time. We drop on Saturdays. That is the Mindless Wrestling Podcast. You can find me on Twitter at the Mindless Pod if you're so inclined. I'm a terrible Twitter user, but you can check that out.
You really use it on there? You're really on there anymore?
I'm not. I don't. It's the same thing with Facebook. I throw something out on Facebook like maybe once a week.
You know what, though? You're not missing anything, buddy. You're not missing anything.
Yeah.
You're really not. Guys, good job as always, man.
Hey, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks, man.